Since I've started this project, I've managed to improve my car in a lot of ways. However, since removing the stock radio from the car, there has been one small thing in the car that has stopped working. Can you spot it yet? It's this. The radio display on the instrument cluster no longer works and has been bugging me ever since. So, this week I decided to make it work again and display whatever I want. To start with, I spent a day with the stock radio plugged back into my car, using the Arduino I had as a gateway to talk to CAN bus. This allowed me to log packets being sent between it and the instrument cluster. After much logging, I had worked out how these two systems communicate. Here is the initialization sequence between the two systems. As you can see, it's pretty complicated. This is mainly due to the communication protocol being wrapped up in a secondary protocol which allows for sending more than 8-byte payloads over CAN bus. More on this later. Let's break down the initialization of just the audio page and remove all the useless wrapping protocol bytes. This looks a lot simpler now. The bytes marked with a green background are simply checksum bytes. These are used so that each module can guarantee that the rest of the payload was correct and nothing got corrupted over CAN bus during transmission. To begin the initialization sequence, the radio sends package 20. Upon receiving this, the instrument cluster will display "please wait" and respond back to the radio saying it has received the payload. The cluster will then send the radio back package 21. This data within the package is currently unknown. Once the radio receives it, it responds with a confirmation message, then we'll send package 24. Package 24 contains a lot of information about the page displayed. The first portion of the payload is unknown, but it tells the cluster what symbols are to display here. The audio page supports two symbols, one at the top of the page and one at the bottom of the page. This segment tells the cluster to display no symbols in either position, 01 being the top position, 02 being the bottom position. Then there is a byte which tells the cluster how many characters will make up the header text, followed by a format byte, which tells the cluster how to format the header text, such as flashing, highlighted, right justification, left justification, or center, followed by the text itself to display in the header. Once package 24 has been received by the instrument cluster, it then responds with package 25. Again, currently this package data is unknown, however it contains some data about the number of lines supported on the page. The audio page can only display one line of text, whereas the telephone page can display 4. Once the radio receives package 25 from the cluster, it will acknowledge it and send back package 26. This payload contains the text to display in the body row, which is located at the center of the display. For some reason, the number of bytes that are for text here are 2 more than the actual number of bytes for text. Next, there is a text format byte, followed by byte sequence to be displayed as text. Once the instrument cluster receives package 26 and sends the confirmation back to the radio, it will finally display the contents on the screen. To begin coding all this, I first wrote some code that would read messages coming from the instrument cluster, process them, and respond back with the correct acknowledgement messages. Let's talk about that second protocol that these payloads are wrapped in. It's called ISO 15765-2 and allows for sending large payloads up to 255 bytes at a time over CAN bus, split over multiple frames. Looking at the initialization sequence once again, where the payload is less than 7 bytes, the first frame of the CAN frame tells the receiver how many bytes make up the payload. This is then followed by the payload itself. The bytes highlighted in black are ignored by the receiving ECU, since they do not make up the payload. When sending larger payloads, the first frame will always start with 0x10, followed by the total number of bytes in the payload. The first 6 bytes of the payload are then placed in the rest of the frame. Once this frame is sent, the sender will wait for a flow control frame, beginning with 0x30. This byte within the flow control frame tells the sender how many milliseconds apart each consecutive frame should be, at least. Once the sender has received the flow control frame, it sends the rest of the payload in 7-byte chunks, reserving the first byte of the frame for an incrementing number starting at 0x21, in order for the receiver to reconstruct the data in order. I then built a function to take in large arrays of bytes and send them using the protocol to the instrument cluster, using bytes from the packet tracing for testing. Once this was completed, I was able to make both displays work again. Next, I set about customizing the displays. This was done by creating functions to generate each package that contains header and body contents for each display. Placing the text I wish to set in the correct location of the packet, then generate the correct checksum byte and send the payload to the display. Since the audio page can only show 13 characters at most, I built a system for it to constantly scroll longer text messages across the screen, allowing me to display long track names playing over Bluetooth on the display. As you can see, text scrolling works as it should. However, unfortunately it was quite stuttery, and I couldn't work out why. After many hours of debugging and still not being able to find out why, I did this. For my next attempt at coding this, I went for a more object-oriented approach, where the telephone and audio pages are separate classes, which both inherit the same base class. The base class deals with the communication with the cluster, and scheduling when each can send a payload, in order to not confuse the cluster by sending two payloads at the same time. Each subclass then has its own functions for generating packages 24 and 26 in order to allow for some more customizability. It was during this time I found that another two packages existed, 28 and 29. 28 updates the symbols on the display and 29 updates the header text on the display. I implemented these two packages in each class as well in order to make it easier for swapping symbols and header text at will. Off camera, I built a simple interface class for my Java code which allowed me to easily change the body text, header text or symbols on each display and signal the page to update on the instrument cluster. I then modified my previous code from last week, such that when the track from Bluetooth changes, it sets the audio page text to be the song name. Once this was completed, and after a lot of off-screen debugging, I finally had a working display that I'm happy with. As shown, as I change the tracks, the audio display changes what the song is being played, and if the text is too long, it then scrolls across the display. I also told the audio page to display the next and previous track icons, so that I know what the up and down arrows do on the steering wheel. That's all for this week. If you like this and want to support me, please like and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.